Continuing with Chapter 13 for the ear, our first objective is to pronounce organs and anatomic structures of the ear. So let's look at the anatomy of the ear first, and we're going to talk about the function. So there are two functions of the ear, which are to hear and to provide the sense of balance. The ear is made up of three parts: the external, middle, and inner ear. The process of hearing begins with the auricles directing sound waves into the external auditory canal. As the sound waves ripple through the external ear, the tympanic membrane vibrates. The ossicles in the middle ear carry the vibration into the inner ear, where the stimulus is transmitted by the cochlear nerve to the brain and is interpreted as sound. Balance is a function of the inner ear and is maintained through a series of complex processes. The vestibular nerve transmits information about motion and body position from the semicircular canals in the vestibule to the brain for interpretation. So now we're going to go through the organs and anatomic structure. So I'll leave this slide on here for a little bit longer, and then I'll change it to the next one. So first we have the ear. Organ of hearing and balance includes the external ear, middle ear, and labyrinth or inner ear. External ear consists of the auricle and external auditory canal or meatus. Auricle, external visible part of the ear located on both sides of the head, directs sound waves into the external auditory canal, also called the pinna. External auditory canal, short tube that ends at the tympanic membrane. The inner part lies within the temporal bone of the skull and contains the glands that secrete earwax or cerumen, also called the external auditory meatus. Middle ear consists of the tympanic membrane of the tympanic cavity containing the ossicles. Tympanic membrane, semi-transparent membrane that separates the external auditory canal and the middle ear cavity. The tympanic membrane transmits sound vibrations to the ossicles, also called the eardrum. I've changed the slide to just the middle ear now, so let's continue with the ossicles. Bones of the middle ear that carry sound vibrations. The ossicles are composed of the malleus or hammer, incus, anvil, and stapes, stirrup. The stapes connect to the oval window, which transmits the sound vibrations to the cochlear of the inner ear. Eustachian tube. Passage between the middle ear and the pharynx equalizes air pressure on both sides of the tympanic membrane. Inner ear consists of the labyrinth and connectors of the vestibular and the cochlear nerves. Labyrinth, bony spaces within the temporal bone of the skull made up of three distinct parts: the cochlea, the semicircular canals, and the vestibule. The cochlea facilitates hearing. The semicircular canals and the vestibule facilitate equilibrium and balance. Cochlea, coiled portion of the inner ear containing the sensory organ for hearing, connects to the oval window in the middle ear. Semicircular canals and vestibule, sensory organs of balance containing receptors and endolymph that provides sensory information about the body's position to maintain equilibrium. Mastoid bone, portion of the temporal bone of the skull posterior and inferior to each auditory canal, contains mastoid air cells that drain into the middle ear cavity behind the external auditory canal, also called the mastoid process. And so here is just basically the flow of sound or perception of sound. So it begins, of course, in the external ear with the auricle or pinna, then it goes to the external auditory canal, then it goes into the middle ear, which is the tympanic membrane, and then the ossicles, malleus, incus, and stapes, and then the oval window, and then it goes into the inner ear, which is the cochlea and acoustic nerve, and then finally into the brain. And that will end this recording.